This week on Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. It's gassers at Thompson Raceway Park. How much horsepower do these cars have?
This one I would say is close to 5,000.
That's a lot of horses. Some of these cars shine like new.
It's not been painted since 1966.
Really?
It's got nitrocellulose transparent lacquer on it.
That must be good stuff. Plus,
I'd really like to keep it. Maybe I want to sell it. There's so many different questions. There's so many different avenues you can take.
Mike gives you some options on inheritance cars. Ready for another episode of Cruisin'?
That's a thumbs up.
Then let's get started. Cruisin', presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine, starts when the smoke clears. Welcome to Cruisin'. I'm John Shapiro, publisher of Cruisin' Times Magazine, and we just got our invitation to a reunion. It's called the Thompson Gasser Reunion, and it's here at Thompson Raceway Park. Let's go inside and check it out.
This is my 37 Willys. I've owned it since 1961, and I've raced it from 1964 to 73. And it usually resides in Don Gartlett's museum, and it's there all during the winter, and then I go pick it up the summer and I do shows during the summer months. So I bought the car in '61. It took me 3 years to build it. I wrote about 34 letters to NHRA and asking for a license, and they rejected all the letters. All the letters came back and said no. So after 3 years of many rejection letters, I finally got a letter from NHRA that said, we'll give you a test, and if you pass the test at Dragway 42 on 2 weeks from now, we'll go ahead and give you your license. So that was just before the 1964 Nationals. So I got my license in August of '64. It's not been painted since 1966. It's got nitrocellulose transparent lacquer on it. And the guy that painted it was Jim Davis from Cleveland. And it was a real gift that he gave me because I never had a trailer. I flat towed this car everywhere. So you can see all the stone chips on the front of the car that are there. And it started on the rear fender, so I ended up putting that black paint on there to stop the stone chips. But no, and it's the original motor. I built this engine. Every engine that's been in this car I have built myself. Every single one, okay? This is a 364 cubic inch small block Chevrolet. The gas pedal, the throttle is over on the passenger side because it's the easiest place for my knee and my leg to go. And it gives me the best response. Otherwise it's too tight on the knee and you don't get the action that you needed. But I have never seen another gasser with it over on the right side. So that's my favorite feature of the car. Everything is exactly as it was when I quit in '73.
It's a 1965 426 Ram Charger steel block Hemi, bored out to 440 cubic inches. It's supercharged on methanol fuel.
What's the color combo? Because this is the most striking race car I've seen in a long time.
The color is, it's called Galaxy Black, and the other one is bronze. Nissan color, 65.
And up front, of course, is the telltale how many gallon fuel tank?
The fuel tank's 3.5 gallons. It's enough to get me through an 1/8 mile with a burnout. That's about it.
What kind of horsepower?
2,500 on alcohol.
Let's take us around the car. Give us a tour of the interior.
It's got a stock 33 Willys dash, and of course a B&M shifter for shifting.
What do you think people would say if they said, what's your favorite feature of this car?
My favorite feature really is the color scheme because it's like a one of a kind, and it's everybody very complimentary on the color scheme.
Now I noticed on the back would be the right fender. Is that a Willys logo? I mean, is that a stock taillight?
Now the taillights that we have on the back are reproduction Harley-Davidson tombstone taillights, and I had the year 1933 on one side and the Willys symbol on the other.
You have a flip-top front end. Is that standard amongst race cars, just to be easier to get into?
All the 33s, yeah. pretty much standard. Makes it a whole lot easier to work on it.
Let's visit Cruise In Marketplace. Tough Stuff Performance Accessories. All Tough Stuff products are quality made in Cleveland, Ohio using 100% new components. Tough Stuff has a complete line of underhood accessories for the custom and hot rod market. All Tough Stuff products meet or exceed OEM specifications. For more information, visit toughstuffperformance.com or call 1-800-331-6562. Portage Trim Custom Interiors. When you're ready for the best, visit their website, portagetrim.com, or call 1-330-296-5511. Cyclone Transmissions for street machines, hot rods, and everyday drivers. Call Rich at 330-639-1137. Ultimate Headers. Big tubes for tight places. The last set of headers you'll ever have to buy using 321 stainless. UltimateHeaders.com. Call 440-234-9600. If you'd like to be a part of Cruise In Marketplace, give us a call. Call 330-697-4155 or email Mark now. info@cruisin.tv. Coming up.
Do you think you could drive the car? And I said, well, absolutely. I think I can do a good job for you.
Bob Riggle's Hearst Hemi Under Glass next on Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Now, back to Thompson Raceway Park on Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine.
1965, I went to work for Hearst as a R&D guy. The Barracuda, the Hearst Hemi Under Glass, is just coming into existence. We had a driver by the name of Bill Shrewsbury, also from Mansfield, Ohio, and he drove the car, and I traveled with him, mechanics the car, and kept it running for him throughout all of 1965 of racing with him driving. See what happened at the end of the year in October, he had a meeting with George Hearst and Jack Watson and a group there, and decided to go off and build his own car called the LA Dart. And George Hearst called me into the office and he asked me, he said, being you've been with the car all this time, do you think you could drive the car? And I said, well, absolutely, I think I can do a good job for you. In the meantime, I had to change everything over on the original 65 car to make a 66 out of it, which was the doors, hood, fenders, bumpers, rear quarters and everything, and made a 66 out of the 65. A lot of people didn't know that, you know. So that was the same car, but the new year of 1966. I had been working on the car at night. When everybody went home, I was living at Hearst in Madison Heights, Michigan. I had a bedroom upstairs and we had showers downstairs, so I would work there all week and then I would go home on the weekend. And then what happened when we came back, I finished the car, unpainted, just all put together with primer and everything, and we went out to Detroit Dragway. There was George Hearst, Leo Kagan, Jack Duffy, Jack Watson, and one other individual was there with us, and Paul Phelps and I, and we went out to test the car. I had never even drove the car from here to you, so this is a first for me. So they're all standing over the tower, you know, kind of watching, and Paul and I warmed the car up, and it was a 4-speed, and warmed the car up. So I staged the car, I came out, the car immediately went to the right off of the racetrack. Set it down, I came back and they're all over there kind of not smiling or anything. And so I did one more try like that. It had a Positrack differential, and when you'd leave and you leave hard in low gear, me just learning, I was pulling tires 8-10 inches off the ground. When it come down and bite, you know, you didn't have any idea where it was going to go. So what I did, I told Paul when I went back, I said, Paul, here's what I'm going to do. I've got enough power in this thing that I can leave in second gear and still bring the car up. He said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to roll out in second gear, bring the motor up, drop the clutch, and when it hits the bumper, I'm going to let off and get back in it and settle it down. And so I did that. And the car came up straight, stayed straight. I hit third gear. It's staying right on the track where I wanted it. I hit fourth gear. And I went by Hearst and all them, and I waved at them like this as I went by, in the air. I went about 1,100 feet, the furthest I ever seen that car go. And so I came back, And as I got back, Mr. Hurst and all of them were walking across the track, and I got out of the car and he walked over and he grabbed my hand and he shook my hand and said, "Bobby, you got the job." I already left home, you know, some time ago, and so my wife's raising 3 kids back there and I'm running the car. But I have to tell you, I had the best job in the whole world. I loved what I was doing. I loved the fans. You know, I loved what I was doing. And so that just kept me going all the time. And of course, I couldn't have worked for any better people than the Hearst people. You know, they treated me good. You know, the one nice thing about it after those years had gone by, you know, and I did other things for a little while and I came back, is that prior to that we were running the car without all the things they have today, die-cast cars, t-shirts, hats, pictures, you know, that kind of thing. And so when I came back, I decided, you know what, I'm going to kind of expand a little bit with this stuff. So I got a hold of Johnny Lightning, got a hold of Highway 61. Also the t-shirt people had some beautiful t-shirts made up, got hats made. I just did everything, because now you're going to be an entrepreneur. You're going to not only run the car, but you're going to have that other income also. Well, this is quite an honor, to be honest with you. You know, it's when you do all this and somebody still, after the years that you've retired and all the things you've done, like you, to invite me to come to an event like this and be Grand Marshal, that's a thumbs up.
And I have a 48 Austin AA gasser. It's a new car for me. The car was actually built in like 1968, 69, and it's fairly original to where it was built. Other than a roll cage modification to get it up to current spec, it's pretty much how the car was run in the late 60s, early 70s.
And what, you choose the color?
The car was actually painted when I got it, so all we really did was go in, detail a little bit, and add our lettering and just a little detailing to it.
And how long you been racing?
I've been racing about 20 years now with a variety of different cars. So
what was your first car then?
The first car that I actually started drag racing was a 68 Biscayne 427 4-speed car. I still have the car, and my dad actually bought the car in 1971. And it was a factory stock car that ran out here at Thompson. Back in the day, it was an AHRA record holder, and we restored it to stock and decided car shows were no fun, and we decided to start shifting gears on the strip. You know, my dad and uncles, everybody's still kind of involved, and you know, keep it in the family.
Your wife helps out too?
Oh yeah, wife helps out, the kids help out. Yeah, the wife will do backup girl duties tonight and wear the go-go boots, and you know, it's all part of the show for everyone.
Explain to something about, in other words, the Austin, that's what...
Yeah, the Austins, they were import from England. And later on, NHRA decided that they could, Anglia's Austins came into play into the gasser racing series later on, late 60s. And boy, the small cars really started taking over, and that's when things started getting a little haywire, when you started seeing less and less of the Willys and more of the Camaros and Mustangs start to enter the picture.
What is a gasser?
Oh, a gasser. Well, the biggest thing, a gasser car typically ran on gasoline. Nowadays, we actually run an alcohol, but it's for a safer tune-up. Helps us get down the track a little bit quicker than the old days of cooling the car down. But gasser had a lot of minimum requirements, weight requirements, wheelbase requirements. You had engine setbacks to deal with. It was all based on pounds per cubic inch, and it was a really, really technical class for back in the day.
The interior,
this is real Spartan.
This is your office.
Right, right.
Tell me what we're looking at.
Well, right now, my car's kind of untypical compared to a lot of the Willys that you see. I actually sit kind of spread eagle in the car. So I'm sitting, my gas pedal is actually on the opposite side of the car, and I actually have a handbrake inside the car. I don't foot brake. So it's a little typical, different setup than your normal car.
I noticed the windshield is not exactly made of glass, is it?
No, it's a Lexan windshield, which all the glass in the car is actually either plexiglass or a Lexan. Lightweight, of course, but durable under high speed if you should hit something. Cool thing with this car, it is a steel body, which it's not a fiberglass body. So it does have fiberglass doors in the front end, of course, but it is an original steel car. Pretty unique.
Now a fuel tank, it's not where it normally is.
Yeah, fuel tank's up front. With the fuel injection, you do need a front-mounted tank. to get there faster. The pumps that come off the front of the motor, they do not siphon really well, so you need to drop the fuel into the pump to go up into the engine. So it's
the average guy walking by on his way home from work, and he sees it, he thinks that's a radiator.
Oh, he thinks it's a water pump on the front instead of a fuel pump. And yeah, a big water holding tank.
Coming up.
Sometimes it's crazy to throw a whole lot of money at a car because of sentimental value.
We visit Mike's garage next on Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Now back to Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine.
Hi, I'm Mike, and this is my garage. Today I'd like to talk to you guys about something that I've been asked in the past and something that's kind of dear to me now also. What to do when one of your loved ones, father, grandfather, mother, family member, has passed and left you or has left behind their pride and joy. I have been asked before by many people, you know, hey, I got this car, don't know what to do with it. I'd really like to keep it. Maybe I want to sell it. There's so many different questions. There's so many different avenues you can take. First off, I would say sit on it a little bit. Think it out. Wait through it. Don't make anything rash. There's always that con man, that vulture. A lot of times there's those people that just love to come in, take it from you, and you could have done much better. You know, in this instance, this is my father's 1969 GTO. He has recently passed, and we've got the car. It's not going anywhere. I built this car for him about 10, 12 years ago. He always wanted it. He bought the car as a major project, left it over here at my shop, and said, you know, hey, when you get to it, you get to it. He raced it at the Pontiac Nationals, enjoyed it, you name it. So, coming from a family where me and my brother are both car fanatics, my mother can't drive the car because it's a stick shift. So needless to say, it's kind of useless to her. You know, the value of it would probably be better. But she knows that between the sons and the grandsons, there will be a lot of love and a lot of care taken to it. Car's got 10, 12 years worth of battle scars. Something like this, he would have wanted that fixed. I'll fix that. You know, I seen there was one little spot starting on the door. I would fix that because I did it. Now, I would love to do a full resto on this and make it 100% perfect, but drive and enjoy is the route we'll take. Your route may be different. If the car has no value, sometimes it's crazy to throw a whole lot of money at a car because of sentimental value. But on the other hand, sometimes that's what gets you by. Or is it one of those high dollar cars that you don't want? Check with some good sources. Get a couple numbers, because you could be sitting on a gold mine and give it away for pennies because you didn't know any better. So remember, in those times where grieving happens, like my father's case here, every time we're in it, we enjoy it. We've got his flag back there, so he's riding along with us. But Dad would have loved to see someone in the family keep this car because he loved it, and there was meaning behind it. Think wisely if something tragic happens, you lose a loved one. Go through all your options before you make a hasty decision. Just something to think about. I hope this helps. We'll see you next week on Mike's Garage.
Next on Cruise In.
This car has variegated gold leaf on the dragster, but on the Willys it's 24 karat gold.
Jewelry on wheels. Coming up on Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine. Now, back to the Gasser reunion at Thompson Raceway Park on Cruise In, presented by Cruisin' Times Magazine.
This is Mr. C, a 1971 210-inch wheelbase top fuel dragster. It was one of the first top fuel dragsters in the rear engine configuration. I completely restored the car other than the paint. About 85% of the car is original, and what isn't original has been purchased to be original. The motor is the number 8 Donovan motor that was ever made. The blower is the original blower. All the interior, the body is original. It's a Tom Hanna aluminum handcrafted body. And it's muirhead leather and aluminum for the framework and everything in there. The steering wheel is one of Boyd Coddington's original hand-built wheels. I have 1933 steel Willys. It was purchased in 1980. It took me 28 years to build it. This car has variegated gold leaf on the dragster, but on the Willys it's 24 karat gold. The dragster, we onion skinned the complete car, and everything that has been put back on, lettering, decals, any part of it is exactly where it was when it was built.
Well, I told you this was going to be a different reunion. We want to thank the folks at Thompson Raceway Park for having us, and we'll see you next week on Cruising.